Hey, thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. We're continuing a series called Hope at the End of Your Rope. You ever been at the end of your rope where you're like, I'm tired, I don't have enough, there's too much month, not enough money, there's too much demand, I don't have enough energy, there's too many problems, I don't have enough answers, solutions. Sometimes we feel like we're at the end of our rope, and I think this is a relevant season to think about this, to explore hope at the end of the rope. Because like all this COVID stuff, I don't know about you, but I just am like, ugh, wow, man. And it's not just COVID. I mean, now we have political elections and we're coming up on economic struggles and, you know, losing jobs and health challenge. I mean, seriously. And it feels sometimes like we can be at the end of our rope. And maybe you've thought that, or maybe you have some friends or family, relatives who feel like they're at the end of their rope. So with that in mind, how do we find hope at the end of our rope? You know, you feel like I'm just hanging on by a thread. And I want to encourage you, this series is to encourage you that God is our hope at the end of our rope. In fact, if God is the rope, then we have endless hope at the beginning, middle, end, because God is infinite. So when we think about hope at the end of our rope, as we hold on to God, last week we looked at Hagar, and we looked at the very beginning of her introduction in the Bible. She is the maidservant to Sarah, who is Abraham's wife. She gets pregnant through Abraham because Sarah proposes Hagar to fulfill this promise from God. And when she gets pregnant, Sarah's jealous, and so Sarah ostracizes her. And she's in a wilderness experience, pregnant, no food, and God encourages her, appears to her and says, here, and gives her some hope. I want to look at Hagar part 2 today, because there's a second place where Hagar is at the end of her rope. And this is in Genesis 21. And it's interesting here because Isaac has been born, who was supernatural birth through Sarah. Remember, Sarah and Abram couldn't get pregnant for decades, literally. So Hagar steps in, gets pregnant through Abraham, and they have a son named Ishmael. But that's before Sarah gets pregnant supernaturally with Abraham. Abraham and Sarah have a son named Isaac. So when Isaac is born, Ishmael, who is Hagar's son, he is older, obviously, than Isaac. But here's what happens, and this is classic. If you ever had little boys or you watched brothers play together, the older brother can sometimes pick on the younger brother. Sometimes. Not always, but this is what was going on. Ishmael was picking on Isaac. And when Sarah saw that happening, she's like, I'm not having that. I'm not having the servant's son, you know, try to take dominance and pick on my son, who's the son of genetic inheritance. I'm not putting up with that. And so Sarah took Hagar and her son Ishmael and kicked them out of the house. And obviously that's heartless and not good for Hagar, not good for Ishmael. So Hagar takes her son Ishmael. She's now, like, in essence, a single mom, and she flees into the wilderness. She doesn't have any resources. I mean, Abraham gave her like a jug of water, but they drink the jug of water, and now where's she going to go? She doesn't have a home. She doesn't have a family. She's got a son that she's responsible for, and she doesn't want to see him die. She's at the end of her rope. And you can see this because it's interesting, her response here. In verse 15, in Genesis 21:15, it says, when the water in the skin was used up, she left the boy under the bushes, and she sat down opposite him and said, I don't want to see my little boy die. She's at the end of her rope. She's really struggling. As she sat opposite him and lifted up her voice and wept. This is clearly what we do when we're at the end of our rope. We don't know what else to do, and so we can have lots of tears and anguish, and I get it. It makes complete sense. And I like this. In verse 17, it says, God heard Ishmael crying, and the angel of the Lord spoke to Hagar and said, what's wrong with you? Don't fear, because God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. So lift up the boy and hold him by the hand, and I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She filled the skin of water and gave the lad a drink of water. And it says God was with the lad, and he grew. And it's interesting because at the end of her rope, God was there. God was there when she was pregnant with Ishmael and was at the end of her rope in the wilderness. And then God was with her the second time when she's at the end of her rope in the wilderness. Now her son is about to die and she's just despondent, hopeless. And God meets her in both places. God meets her when she has a family and when she's pregnant, both times. And I like this because this is Hagar. Hagar is a servant of Sarai. She's not direct connection with Abraham. She's indirectly related. But because she's connected and God speaks to her and encourages her 2 times, I see this and it encourages me. I want it to encourage you today as well. That no matter what's happening in your life, and for those of us who have kids and we're feeling the pressure and the intensity, what do we do with our kids for school? Right? What's the decision, thinking about schooling in the fall? Are they opening or not opening? Do we have public schools, not have? Do we have to homeschool? Do we do online? What do we do with our kids? And Hagar was kind of in a similar situation. And God provided for Hagar, God provided for Ishmael, and God will provide for your children and my children in this season. God has hope and a future for us. So I just encourage you that if you're in a hopeless time, you feel it in your mind and your heart and your emotions, then let's hold on to God. Tie a rope around God. Let God tie a rope around us. Let us hold on to God, because we may not know what to do, but when we keep our eyes on God, God brings us through. And I see that theme again and again and again throughout the whole Bible. We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you, God. I don't have the answers. I don't have the wisdom. I don't have the solutions. I don't have the stamina. I don't have the resources, but God, you do. God can give us hope when we have no hope in ourselves or looking around ourselves. So I encourage you today to keep your hope, your confidence, your focus on God, no matter what wilderness you're in, no matter what's pressing down on you. Keep your eyes on God, because God can and will bring you through. Just like he did with Hagar, he will do the same for you. So thank you so much for watching. Love to get your feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments. I love it when you leave comments. And of course, if you want to share this with a friend, that would be fantastic. Thank you for subscribing and hitting the notification little bell thing there, so you know when we do new ones. And here's your joke. I really like this joke. So yesterday, my daughter thought she saw a cockroach in the kitchen, so she sprayed everything down and cleaned it thoroughly. So today, I'm putting a cockroach in her bathroom. You're like, that's so rude. Kind of, but my daughter doesn't. She's super neat and tidy, in Jesus' name. So thank you so much for watching. Love your guts. Catch you next week.